Welcome to the Perimenopause Playbook, a place where we explore the fascinating intersection of neuroscience and interior design to support the cognitive health of women in perimenopause and menopause. I am Lola Ajayi, an interior designer on a mission to share my findings on neuroscience for interior design with protocols and ideas that support and enhance the cognitive well-being of women during this transformative stage of life. Join me as we delve into the fascinating world of neuroscience for interior design and discover how we can create spaces that nurture and empower women during this important time. Let's design supportive spaces for a healthier mind, a healthier body, and a healthier soul together. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 5 of the Perimenopause Playbook. I am so excited to bring you this episode because it's on a subject that is super relevant to many of us, and that's brain fog. And so the title of this episode is Designing Spaces to Reduce Brain Fog. So if you've been feeling a little more forgetful lately or you're having trouble focusing, you are not alone. In this episode, we're going to talk about what brain fog actually is. We're going to explain why it happens during perimenopause and postmenopause. And most importantly, we're going to highlight all the strategies we can implement on how to design our livings and workspaces to help us clear that mental haze. These tips and strategies are created for you if you're an interior designer and you offer services, and it also offers the DIY enthusiast who is not ready to invest in the services of an interior designer the option to create a supportive space for themselves without breaking the bank. So without much further ado, let's dive right in. Right, so let us talk about brain fog, what it is, and why it happens during perimenopause. Brain fog is a term that is used to describe cognitive dysfunction that can manifest as memory lapses, difficulty concentrating, confusion, and a general feeling of mental fatigue. Think of brain fog as a sort of mental haze. So if you have ever walked into a room and you've forgotten why you're there, or you struggled to remember something that was just on the tip of your tongue or is hovering in your mind space, and you just can't quite get a hold of that idea or thought, you're familiar with brain fog. During perimenopause and postmenopause, this foggy feeling can become a regular part of life, and it is that frustrating sensation where your mind just feels a little bit cloudy. You might have trouble focusing, you will feel forgetful, or just generally sluggish in your thinking. It's good to know that it is not a medical condition on its own, but rather it's a symptom which can be triggered by various factors, and we're going to discuss a few of those causes right now. So let's dig into causes of brain fog. A big culprit here for brain fog is hormone changes, and that's like the biggest thing. There are other sub causes, but this seems to be the biggie because it's hormones. And specifically for hormone changes, it is the drop in estrogen that happens during perimenopause, or more accurately, the fluctuation in estrogen levels as we transition towards menopause and postmenopause. Estrogen does a lot for our brains, including helping us regulate neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which are key players in mood, memory, and overall cognitive function. And when these estrogen levels start to dip and fluctuate, it's like your brain's power supply flickers off and on, and we just don't know how to deal with it. And it's really important, specifically in perimenopause, because this is a time, the transitional period where our brain is just beginning to experience this fluctuation in estrogen levels and doesn't quite yet know how to deal with it, and is beginning to adapt itself to the new levels moving into the future. Another big culprit is sleep disruptions, and this can be a huge issue during perimenopause. Hello, night sweats and insomnia. If you've been there, hands in the air. And when you're not sleeping well, it is no surprise that your brain will feel fuzzy the next day because having a really poor sleep quality or sleep architecture exacerbates brain fog, which makes it difficult to focus and process information effectively. A third cause is stress and anxiety, and this often comes with the changes that's already going on in our bodies, which can then lead to cortisol spikes or sustained heightened levels of cortisol throughout the day. And cortisol, if we remember, is a stress hormone that in high amounts can impair cognitive functions, particularly our memory and executive function. And when you put all this together, you have yourself a recipe for cognitive overload. Now, a fourth factor, which is on lifestyle, is nutritional deficiencies. This is also really important, and that's why I'm including it in the factors that cause brain fog. Our nutrient absorption rates decline during perimenopause, which leads to deficiencies in vitamins like vitamin B12, vitamins D, and omega-3 fatty acids, and these are essential for maintaining cognitive health. Never mind the fact that our souls are so badly depleted that following a healthy dietary lifestyle alone doesn't quite cut it anymore. But this is a subject for another podcast, and I hope that I'm able to bring on a nutritionist to discuss this subject in depth when we get around to lifestyle protocols and how interior design can be used to support that. Now, a fifth factor is cognitive overload. Now, picture this. You walk into a room in your house or your home office, and there's stuff everywhere and in all the wrong places, and you're trying to find something. That feeling you get when you can't seem to remember where you put something because there's stuff all over the place and in the wrong place is called cognitive overload. Now, cognitive overload occurs when there's too much information to process, too much information for your brain to process, and your brain in turn reaches a point of paralysis of information. It also occurs when the brain is overwhelmed with too much information or too many tasks at once, making it difficult to focus, process information, and even make decisions. This overload is problematic in everyday life, and particularly problematic during perimenopause when brain fog is already a challenge. Now let's bring in some science into the mix. Scientific research shows that estrogen is vital for maintaining healthy synaptic connections and also promoting the growth of new neurons in the brain. When estrogen levels begin to fluctuate and drop, it can affect areas like the hippocampus, which is crucial for memory and learning. Also, studies have shown that chronic sleep deprivation can disrupt the communication between different parts of the brain, making it harder to think clearly and make decisions. Another study published in Nature Reviews Neuroscience highlighted the role of estrogen in cognitive aging and how its decline during postmenopause is linked to memory impairments and increased brain fog. This research underscores the importance of addressing these hormonal changes in order to mitigate cognitive decline. Now that we know what's causing brain fog, let's talk about neuroscience-backed strategies and tips for how we can create supportive environments that make the incidence of brain fog a little more tolerable and even give us back our agency over everything that's going on in perimenopause and postmenopause. And these strategies are grounded in science and can make a noticeable difference in how our brains function from day to day. So strategy number one is biophilic design. So biophilic design as a concept is an approach to architecture and interior design that seeks to connect building occupants more closely to nature. The purpose of biophilic design is to create spaces that nurture both human health and environmental health by zeroing in on people's innate affinity for nature and thus creating harmony within the built environment. It's very cool. There is something deeply calming I find about nature. And so biophilic design, which is bringing in natural elements like plants, water bodies, and natural materials into our home, has the potential to greatly reduce stress and enhance our cognitive function. So a bit of neuroscience insight into that is a study that has shown that incorporating natural elements into interior spaces can reduce stress and enhance cognitive function. And this research was published in Frontiers in Psychology, where they found that exposure to natural elements such as plants and water features can improve working memory and reduce stress. And of course, links to these research are in the show notes. Now let's talk about implementation tips, and the first is for DIY enthusiasts. A very easy fix to adding biophilia to your interior space is just go out there and buy a houseplant or two or three or many. I've got 8, so the more the merrier. And also use natural materials like wood and stone, and also incorporate nature-inspired artwork. The world is quite literally your oyster here, guys. Even simple changes like including a water fountain or an image of nature can have significant cognitive benefits to you. Now, for interior designers, consider larger biophilic elements like a living wall or natural light sources and indoor gardens, or even natural wood accents to really bring that sense of calm into the space. And of course, use materials that mimic nature to create a serene environment. Now, strategy number 2 is balance your senses. Our brains are constantly processing sensory information, and when things get out of balance, like too much noise or harsh lighting, this can exacerbate brain fog. Now, a study from the Journal of Neuroscience demonstrated that sensory overload negatively impacts cognitive performance, especially in women undergoing hormonal changes. Another study in Journal of Neuroscience found that too much sensory input can overwhelm the brain, especially during hormonal changes, which makes it harder for women in perimenopause and postmenopause to concentrate. Now, a quick one on implementation tips for the DIY enthusiasts. Swap out overhead lighting that's harsher for softer, dimmable options. You can also add a cozy rug or curtains to help dampen noise, and these small changes can go a great long way to creating a much more balanced environment for your brain. Now, for interior designers, it's helpful to design spaces with layered lighting, which can be adjusted depending on the activity your clients have in their spaces. And you can also incorporate acoustic panels or rugs in order to reduce noise levels and add soft tactile elements to enhance comfort. Now, a quick caveat here. Because I'm offering these tips to interior designers does not mean that it isn't relevant to a potential client as well. If you're a DIY enthusiast and sometime in the future you hire the services of an interior designer, it is always helpful to go in understanding what you really need from your space. So that helps your interior designer or architect tailor the design solutions they're offering to best suit your needs. Now, on to strategy number 3 is make it personal. Your space should feel like an extension of you, or an extension of the vibe of your family if you're a family person, because spaces that reflect our personal identities and emotional connections can enhance cognitive well-being. So when you surround yourself with things that have personal meaning, it not only makes you feel more at home, but it also can actually boost your cognitive function. Now, for DIY enthusiasts, decorate your space with items that hold personal significance, such as photos, holiday photos, major life event photos, or mementos or artwork that inspires you. This personalization makes the space way more inviting and mentally stimulating to you and your loved ones. Now, for interior designers, work with clients to identify key personal elements that can be incorporated into the design. This should go without saying, but it bears saying anyway. So, also create spaces that not only meet functional needs, but also evoke positive emotional and mental responses. Strategy number 5 is declutter your environment. When you clear out the physical clutter, you're also clearing out mental clutter. There is this very, very popular saying that says that goes like this: a decluttered space leads to a decluttered mind. It is so, so true. When your brain is overwhelmed, there is chaos. Your brain can only handle so much information at once, and when it is bombarded with visual chaos, it cannot focus as well as it is designed to. So decluttering your environment removes unnecessary stimuli that can contribute to cognitive overload, and so a clean, organized space allows the brain to focus on the tasks at hand without being distracted by visual clutter. A research from the Journal of Neuroscience has shown that an uncluttered environment reduces the cognitive load on the brain, which allows for better memory recall and focus. In other words, less mess equals more brain power. And so when your home and your workspace is set up in a way that makes sense, where everything has its place and you're not tripping over things or hunting for your keys, it reduces the strain on your brain. And this isn't just about aesthetics. It's also so much about functionality in space. Now, how can we create a decluttered space for ourselves? A pro tip here is to create clear zones in your space. For example, have a specific spot where you do focused work, and another way you relax, and maybe a nook for reading. And this spatial organization helps the brain to associate different environments with specific tasks, which improves concentration and efficiency, and thus make it easier to switch into the right mind space for the task at hand. Also opt for furniture and decorative arrangements that promote ease of movement and reduce visual and physical chaos. This simplicity helps the brain to navigate spaces more efficiently, thereby conserving mental energy and just making your life easier. Now, for DIY enthusiasts, start with one room at a time and remove items that are not essential. Use storage solutions like baskets, shelves, and cabinets to keep your surfaces clear. Label storage containers to make it easier to find items quickly, which would reduce decision fatigue. For interior designers, consider minimalist designs with multifunctional furniture in order to maximize space without creating clutter. And specify calming color palettes like soft blues, greens, and neutrals that help to promote relaxation and focus. So guys, to recap this, a well-organized home is essential for productivity, relaxation, and just cognitive health, especially when you're beginning to experience heightened levels of brain fog. The goal is to create an environment that minimizes distractions and supports your cognitive function. Now, the fifth strategy is ergonomics and comfort levels. Now, first up, make sure your setup is comfortable. If your chair, and this is referring to if you have a home office, it's relevant to your home space, but this is more relevant to a home office setup. So if your chair is too low or your computer monitor is at the wrong height, you will end up with physical discomfort, which is a major distraction. So good posture improves your breathing and circulation, which in turn helps to keep your brain sharp, because remember, the brain runs on oxygen. And good circulation makes sure your brain gets as much oxygen as it needs to stay sharp. It is important to ensure that your chair, your desk, and your computer monitor are at the correct height and distance in order to avoid physical discomfort, which can contribute to mental fatigue. I know that the word ergonomics might sound technical, but it's really about making sure that your body is supported so that your brain can focus on the task at hand and not that nagging back pain or neck pain. Now, the sixth strategy that I would like to discuss here is natural lighting. Now, natural lighting is your absolute best friend when it comes to fighting brain fog, because it helps to regulate your body's internal clock, remember the circadian rhythm, which in turn improves your sleep and your mood. And if your sleep is in top form, your cognitive health would also most likely be in top form. If you cannot get enough natural lighting, try full spectrum bulbs that mimic daylight. And this is relevant to parts of the globe where we get longer night spells and shorter day spells. And this can make a huge difference, the full spectrum light bulbs. And whenever possible, position your desk near a window to take advantage of natural lighting, which has been shown to improve mood energy levels, and cognitive function. There's fascinating research showing that blue enriched light can improve cognitive performance. The link is in the show notes, and which in turn makes us more alert and better at memory tasks. So one of this research was published in Environmental Health Perspective, where they found that exposure to natural light during the day helps to regulate our body's natural rhythms, which in turn leads to better sleep and less brain fog. That is strategy number 6. Now, strategy number 7 is color psychology. This is an interesting one because I was having a conversation with a co-worker a few days ago where he highlighted an important point to me, which I kind of already knew, but just did not really do any deep dive into it. And I'm going to get to it in a moment. So we all know that, well, I hope we all know that colors around us can impact the way and how well we think. It's true because these colors have the potential to boost productivity and focus, and also to create calm and serene environments. But the key here I find across the board is to avoid overly bright or jarring colors that might overstimulate your brain. So back to the point I was trying to make earlier, it is important to note here that cultures and cultural inclinations and interpretations of color play a major role in color perception. Now, on that subject, I really would love to do a bit more research on that, but I'm not sure that it's worth the an entire podcast. But I find that depending on the color, say for instance blues and greens, which are wildly known for being calming, I believe that it's the hue of the color that plays a bigger role than the actual color itself. So depending on where you are across the globe and you're an interior designer providing that service and you're using color psychology to create spaces, it is really, really important to understand your clients and how they perceive color. So in that line, while there are general rules with regards to how colors influence our moods and emotions across the globe, if you're offering that service as an interior designer, it is absolutely important to understand your client's interpretation of color and how it works for them culturally. I would be really interested to know how color is interpreted in your culture. Do let me know in the comments if the color choices for calm and focus resonate with you, or the color choices for productivity and focus sort of resonate differently with you. And also let me know why not. So to wrap up this episode, let's talk about noise levels. I have talked about this in previous episodes. So if you like a deeper sort of dive into the subject of noise, refer back to previous episode. I'm not sure which one. There aren't that many yet, but refer back and you'll find something on noise and cognitive health. So basically, background noise can be a big distraction, especially if you're trying to concentrate or you're even trying to get to sleep at night. So it is really important to be sure that your noise levels are controlled. And if you're distracted during the day, that exacerbates your levels of stress, which then translates to your inability to get to sleep quickly. And if you have noise distracting you throughout the night, that's disrupting your sleep pattern, we know that's going to lead to fuzziness and just cognitive issues all day next day. So noise is also a really important strategy to really lock down. And so so noise cancelling headphones are a really great option to have if you have no control over the noise that's coming into your space. There are also other protocols that you can adapt in previous episodes, and also soft furnishings like rugs and curtains are really good at absorbing sound, which makes your space quieter and more serene. So those are sort of strategies that you can adapt like right now. And for interior designers, I would say, just create an acoustically sound interior space. If you're working on a space from scratch, like if you're working on carte blanche, the walls haven't been screeded yet, windows haven't been put in, this is a great time to specify noise insulating or noise deflecting elements in your client space that would really help them stay on top of their cognitive health journey. And on that note, we have arrived at the end of episode 5 of the Perimenopause Playbook, which is titled Designing for Brain Fog. And I have really enjoyed delivering this. I think this will be my shortest so far, but it's not so much the length as much as it is, the joy that I feel delivering this episode to you. I hope that you found it really useful, and I am looking at creating an Ask Me Anything series of episodes. So if you have questions with regards to what you would like to know, what you'd like to have discussed on the subject of perimenopause and postmenopause and interior design related topics, do let me know, and I'll be more than happy to create something for you. And on that note, I bid you a really great weekend and stay cool in the summer heat. And I look forward to sharing my next findings with you in upcoming episodes. Stay curious, stay awesome, and be well. Bye.